Hey family, it's your girl, Boss B, and welcome to the AskABee show, the place where your letters come to life. Every day people write in with real questions about life, love, and everything in between. And together we find hope, healing, and a whole lot of honesty. Because here on AskABee, we don't just talk about problems, we talk about possibilities. So grab your tea, open your heart, and let's buzz into today's letters right here on the AskABee show. Hello again. Welcome back to AskABee. This one space, it's on the internet where real people. Let me make sure I got my volume. Yeah, I got my volume. Okay, we're good today. I was watching that again, y'all. That's funny stuff. My goodness. Anyway, so this is the one space on the internet where people with real emotions finally get a moment that isn't rushed or minimized or dismissed or just squeezed into a 5-second attention span. Every time we gather here, whether it's a quiet day or a chaotic one, something special happens. And I don't think most people even realize that they're craving this. There's a moment where someone is actually allowed to think, to feel, question, and doubt, hope, hurt, heal, without being interrupted, or invalidated. In a world where everyone is scrolling, past each other and everything, shouting over each other and pretending not to care, the show's become a rare pocket of truth where feelings don't have to hide and where honesty isn't just tolerated, it's welcomed. Okay? No sugarcoating here. I think we've had that discussion before, y'all. Let's see, who do we have today? Aqua. Oh my goodness. Hey. Good to see you, man. Very good to see you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Really, I do. Oh, this is going to be fun. Excuse me. All right. So today's show hits at the exact center of something that almost everybody experiences, but barely anybody talks about with any real vulnerability. The emotional tightrope between what our hearts want and what our logic warns us about. So today we're going to stepping directly. Okay. I feel like I'm stepping into something I can't wipe off my shoe, but directly into what uncertain space, where longing and instinct, intuition, I don't know, history and fear kind of mixed with hope, and they all kind of swirl together. I've got squirrels on the brain. It must be my ADHD day. But when it swirls together, it can make even the strongest person feel unstable, right? And it's that space where you're trying to figure out whether the connection you feel is genuine spark or just a reflection of something you desperately wish were real. Now, it's the kind of emotional crossroads that make you second guess your own judgment, even if you've been through hell and back and promised yourself you wouldn't fall for that same pattern again. The show isn't about pretending to have all the answers. I don't. I know I don't. It's about fairy tale endings, or isn't about, fairy tale endings or perfect love stories that wrap themselves neatly with a bow. No bows here. You barely get a few rings. But AskABee was built on the idea that life is messy, y'all. People are complicated. And sometimes the hardest part of any emotional journey is learning how to tell the difference between what's happening in front of you and what's happening inside your head. And the letters, well, the one we're reading today, any of them, actually, every single one of them tap into that exact confusion, trying to say this the right way, I'm sorry, that deeply human tendency to interpret small gestures as big meanings to read rhythms that might not be there, to cling to hope, when experience tells us to be careful. And none of that makes you foolish. It just makes you human. Now, because love doesn't always enter our lives in, hi, Rudy, good to see you, man. Very happy to see you, Rudy. It's been forever. 45, my friend. So, to get back to that, love doesn't always enter our lives in bright neon signs and obvious declarations. Sometimes it sneaks in sideways. Sometimes it shows up as disguised kindness, and sometimes it arrives at the exact moment where we're vulnerable enough I hate that word, vulnerable enough to misread good manners as intimacy. So sometimes, and painfully, we build an entire emotional universe around one person without ever knowing if they're standing in the same galaxy with us. So that's why today's theme is going to be a little bit powerful. Is this love, or am I just hoping? Now, it's not a weak question. It's not. It's not a naive question. It's a question born from the kind of emotional intelligence that most people pretend they don't need. My goodness, Rudy, your languages are expanding. Hola and bonjour to you too, monsieur. I have a Texas accent, so that's going to sound real funny. Okay, so, it takes strength to admit that you're unsure. It really takes courage to ask whether the feeling that you're holding is real or imagined. And it takes honesty, okay? To look at your own heart and ask if you're falling for the person in front of you or the idea of who you want them to be. It doesn't sound simple, but it's so not. Okay, but so before we get into the letter, before we read the stories that will, kind of mirror the experiences of 1,000 people listening right now, I want you to let yourself breathe into this for just a minute, because we're going to slow it down a little bit, sink into the truth that confusion doesn't make you weak. It means you still care. Doubt doesn't really make you broken, okay? It means you're still trying and you can hope. Please, hope is not the enemy here. Hope is what keeps us reaching for connection, even after life has given us every reason to stop trying. But hope can also fool us, And that's why we're here today. Not to shame the confusion, but to understand it. Not to silence your heart, but to translate it. And we're definitely not judging anyone's feelings here, okay? But to give them the space they've never had. They've never been allowed to take up. Okay? So this is AskABee. And here your doubts are your doubts, your hopes, your fears, your questions, your complicated, tangled emotions aren't just welcome. They're the entire point. But before we open the letters for today, I want to take a moment to shift the energy just slightly, not away from the emotional depth we're stepping into, but into a place where we can breathe for a minute before we dive in head first into a messy, heart-worked ahead, okay? One thing I love about this show, other than it's mine, and one thing I think the audience is starting to look forward to every single day, is that perfect little pivot from real emotions to music history. Yay! Because it gives our mind something solid to anchor to while the heart is still processing everything we just started talking about. Now, music is one of the only universal languages, okay, that can hold grief and hope and heartbreak and curiosity and longing, disappointment. I could go on all day, but joy too. Let's see what you got, Aqua. I think Men will settle for simple over hoping true for love the older we get. Sir, I cannot agree with you anymore. Let me tell you something. That is so true. And high five to that, because not to say anything towards men, of course, let me say this first, because, I've been married for 35 years. Men hold that back because they don't know how to let it go. They've been told all their lives, and I've said this almost on every single show. You've been told all your lives you have to be strong. And if you're showing emotion, it's weakness. That's not the case. It's so not the case. And men, they settle because it's easier to not fight that. No, no, no. No, no, no. I love your wordplay. It's perfect. I'm so happy you're here, Aqua. Believe me. I love your input. I do. I love sitting in the chat room with you. I do. And one of these days, I'll have to get you and your missus up here and let's talk about it, because y'all obviously have something really, really grand. And that to me is beautiful. No matter what it looks like from my point of view. I mean, the old lady part. I can tell you, Texas, if somebody called me that, I'd probably have to slap them. But let me tell you, my husband says that in jest. So I get it. And I know you guys love each other. So that is amazing to me. And I'm so happy you're here. Seriously. I mean, wow. I got Aquafunk in my chat room. Ha ha. Anyway. So, back to our trivia. That's why our trivia isn't just a throwaway moment. It's a reminder that greatness rarely makes sense in the beginning. And sometimes the biggest icons in the world almost started under names and identities that didn't fit them at all. And it mirrors life, relationships, and today's entire theme more than most people realize. Sometimes what something starts as is not what it becomes, if that makes sense. And okay, so today's question, it fits that idea perfectly, but because it pulls back the curtain on one of the most influential rock bands of all times. And I love my rock history. Okay, this group whose name is now synonymous with power and grit and, rebellion, musical evolution. Yet they almost carried a title that would have changed how the world perceived them from the very beginning. And it's a small piece of music history with a massive ripple effect too. At least I think so. And it shows how even the most iconic legacies sit on top of moments that could have gone, I don't know, another direction entirely. That's what makes trivia magical for me. It's fun, yes, but it's also grounding. It's perspective. It's, a reminder that even giants started in moments of uncertainty. So, before we unravel today's letters and face all the emotional confusion that comes with asking, it's this love, or am I just hoping? Let's warm up with a little piece of rock history that proves even legends had awkward beginnings. All right. So, our question for the day is, you ready? Which band was almost named? Look, I've even got this. Put it up here. Come on, put it up there. There it is. Look at me. I'm so special today. I even got pictures. Which band was almost named the New Yardbirds before they switched to the name we know today? And no, I'm not giving you that name yet. You have to figure it out. If you think you know, please put it in the comments or in the chat. And at the end of the show, you'll find out. Okay? All right. Here we go again. Now, pull this one off of her. And come on over here. Now, also before we get into the deep stuff, I like to have a little funny letter. Or I guess funny really isn't the best word to put for that. Maybe not so heavy is a good way to put it. But it's not as emotional, and I kind of find it a little funny. So we're going to take a moment to let the air shift just a little bit, not to pull us away from the heart of the show, but to give us a moment of levity before we walk into the heavier territory waiting on the other side. Okay. So I believe that's the right one. Y'all have to forgive me. I am doing this, I swear. Okay, but because the thing about love, hope, and emotional uncertainty is they live right there next to frustration and confusion and kind of, I don't know, it's comical. That only life itself could write. This is funny. Okay, some of the most honest moments in our lives happen when we're laughing through the chaos, right? Laughter through tears is my favorite emotion. Yes, that's a movie quote. No, that's not part of the trivia, but yes, laughter through emotions. You need a hint. You ain't getting a hint. Come on now. Don't you Google it. I knew you'd make this interesting for me today, Aqua. Thank you. All right. So, if there's one thing this show has taught me, for the most part, and maybe some of us, it's that a human heart might be complicated, right? But it also has a sense of humor. And when it's breaking, and even when it's, I don't know, confused or hanging on to something that might not be real, sometimes the best way to approach a sensitive topic is to step into the room sideways with a laugh. So, because laughter softens the ground before we dig into the truth, today's funny letter is exactly that. A reminder that no matter how serious our emotions get, life has a way of throwing us a situation so ridiculous that we can't help but, shake our heads and smile. Now, pardon me, still Texas bipolar weather giving me allergies. Now, it's the kind of story that could only come from someone who has hit that point where love and longing and desperation collide with reality in the most inconvenient way possible. It's that classic moment of trying to make something romantic or meaningful happen, only to have it go spectacularly sideways, leaving you wondering how you got yourself into that mess in the first place. No, these moments matter because they remind us that love and life aren't just heavy. They're hysterical and unpredictable and sometimes downright stupid in the funniest way. So, before we walk back into all the emotional storm of the main letter for today, let this next piece be the exhale we all need. Let's laugh together. Not because things aren't hard, but because sometimes humor is the only way to survive the parts of life we don't have answers for yet. All right. Let me get my first letter here. I gotta make sure it's the right one. Here we go. Dear B, all right, I need some help before I lose my damn mind because I swear my love life is becoming a sitcom I didn't sign up for. And I can't tell if the universe is playing a joke on me or trying to warn me. So here's the situation. I have been trying to accidentally show someone I like them. Nothing dramatic, nothing desperate, just subtle little hints like the kind of people always say, just do naturally. But let me tell you, whoever invented the idea of dropping hints clearly never tried it in real life. Okay. Because my hints have landed with all the elegance of a drunken pigeon running headfirst into a window. You must be from Texas. I like that euphemism. Okay. I've tried smiling a little longer than usual. I've tried standing a bit closer when we walk or talk. I've tried doing that soft laugh people do in movies when they want to see charming and nothing. Oh, seem charming, pardon me. Not one flicker of recognition. If anything, I think they now believe I have a medical condition that causes random giggling fits. I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh at you. I'm laughing with you. I swear it. It gets worse. Last week, I thought I'd be bold. Not bold, bold, just medium bold. And bring them their favorite drink. Casual but thoughtful. Okay. All right. I rehearsed what I was going to say. You shouldn't do that. Just say it. Just say it. Stop rehearsing. Oh my gosh. I practiced the no big deal shrug and I walked in like I had my life together. But right as I handed it to them, my sleeve got caught on the door handle. The drink flipped out of my hand and I threw an entire iced coffee across the room like I was performing some kind of caffeine based exorcism. Wow, it splashed everywhere, the wall, the floor, their shoes, and they just stood there blinking like they were trying to figure out if I was having a nervous breakdown or performing a magic trick gone wrong. And instead of flirting or apologizing gracefully, I panicked and said, "Surprise, it's coffee." As if that explained anything. Spoiler, it did not, no doubt. And the more I try to recover, the worse it gets. Oh, my goodness. I keep catching myself staring at them too long because I'm trying to figure out if they're sending me signals back. But every time they look up, I panic and look away so fast I probably appear guilty of a crime. Oh my gosh, stalked much? I've accidentally waved at them twice when they weren't even looking at me. I tripped over absolutely nothing in their general direction. And yesterday, when I finally worked up the courage to say something meaningful, the only words that came out of my mouth were, "Do you like stuff?" Why do you write to me? Why do these people write to me? I'm just kidding. I love you. Thank you. I don't even know what that means. So B, I'm begging you, help me, because at this point, I'm not asking, is this love or am I just hoping anymore? I'm asking whether I'm flirting or having a neurological event, because just please tell me, what am I supposed to do before I embarrass myself into witness protection? Signed, a walking romantic disaster. I say call witness protection. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. First of all, okay, let me y'all say it with me. Woosah. I don't know what it means, but it helps, I think. Pardon me, it's a water day. Let me say this as gently and honestly as possible. You're not experiencing a romantic. You're not experiencing wow, you got me tied up, man. Okay, it's not a romantic meltdown. First off, you're experiencing the universe, ancient, undefeated curse of trying to flirt with someone you actually care about. Humans who aren't invested, they flirt like smooth assassins. Humans who are invested suddenly forget how to stand and speak and blink or walk, or really function. Okay, that's the rule. The second your feelings get involved, your brain packs its bags, okay, and goes on a sabbatical, and it leaves you alone with whatever instinct that you can gather from, I don't know, rom-coms and panic. The good news is, if there is some, let me think about that. Okay, the good news is that nothing you've described really is unusual, okay? In fact, as comical as it is, it's almost suspiciously normal. Yeah. Half of humanity has done the same things or worse. They've choked on air. mispronounced their own names, waved at strangers, or tried to accidentally bump into someone, and instead performed a full WWE move into a wall. You're in great company. Oh my gosh. All right. Pardon me. This is a lot. What you're dealing with isn't failure, it's fear masquerading as chaos. Okay. When you have a real emotional investment, everything becomes magnified. You overthink the timing, the tone. Men are not that complicated. We are simple animals. Just tell us because we're not good at hints. You know what? I agree. Yep, I agree. I have to agree with you on that one. And I've said it before. Well, and women alike are not mind readers. Men are not mind readers. You can't throw on a man this whole list of crap that's going on in your life and expect him to process it and have an answer 5 seconds later. You need time to process. And even if you have ADHD like me, you still need time to process. That's a lot. You know, you can't throw your whole day on a man and expect him to understand and know exactly what to do or say. If there's something between the two of you, spell it out and then let it go for a minute. Let him process. Okay. That's not hard. And you're not a mind reader. And the moment that you start trying to read his mind, you're assuming. And what did I say yesterday? You make an ass out of you and me every time you assume. So don't assume. Give it time. Men need a minute. Okay. Women, some of us, like this ADHD brain, I don't need time. I already got an answer for you. It may not be the right answer, but I got an answer for you. But I'm going to hold off because you don't drop that on a man. 35 years of marriage. You know, I have two really big rules for 35 years of marriage. One, I don't think I can say online. I mean, one empty, one full, right? And then the other big thing is don't dump on them. Not all at once. If you want to talk about one thing at a time. That's how 35 years. Right? All right. So let's finish this one here. Oh gosh, I got to try and get back to this. Thank you, Aqua. See, this is why I'm glad you're here. I knew you'd have something to say, man. And I need that kind of input. Seriously, because I like to say what I just said. Maybe not the one empty, one full thing. And I think we know what that means. You know, we're talking about between the chest cavity and the thighs. Okay. One empty, one full. You know what I'm saying. But dumping on a man, women don't seem to understand that. And as much as men try to understand what a woman wants, women don't in most cases. Seriously, women don't, because they expect a man just to automatically be exactly what they want them to be. And you know what? Women and men, they have this joke about training each other. It's not a joke. From the moment of conception, we are programmed, okay? And I'm not talking like a computer. I mean, yes, you can hear stuff going on outside of the womb of your mother, okay? I mean, from day one, you're hearing, you're seeing, you're doing, you're feeling, all that stuff, okay? And women, I think we compartmentalize that from day one. And men, they take it day by day. And quite frankly, sometimes I wish I could do the same, but I can't. And it's not because I'm a woman, it's because that's the way my brain works. And opposites attract. My husband is very quiet and calm, and he doesn't like big crowds. Me, I'm just the opposite, right? I love big crowds. I love attention. I'll say it. I'm an attention. You know what? I love attention. Why else am I on YouTube? Duh. Okay. But give the man a break, okay? All right, I got to get back to this silly letter. I haven't finished it yet. And I do write and tell them that I'm answering their letters so they can come and watch or listen. Now, all right. Thank you, Aqua, again. And I truly mean that, man. Good to see you. I really appreciate the support. So you're terrified of being too obvious, terrified of being too subtle, terrified of misreading the moment, and absolutely horrified at the thought of them somehow hearing your heart karate kicking its way out of your chest. That fear turns simple gestures into Olympic level events. Bringing someone their favorite drinks, it becomes a test of your motor coordination, emotional stability, and spiritual endurance. Been there, done that more than once. I am 54 years old. Bringing someone their favorite drink, okay? I'd still do that to this day. But a simple conversation, suddenly it requires rehearsals, backup plans, a small support group. Thank you, Aqua. You're not clumsy, okay? You're overwhelmed, and overwhelm makes everything feel like it's happening underwater. The deeper truth here is that you're not just trying to flirt, okay? You're trying to protect your heart while reaching for something you desperately want. And that combination never feels smooth. It feels vulnerable, uncertain. It feels like walking barefoot across a floor full of Legos while smiling politely and pretending everything's fine. Nothing to see here. You're trying to be expressive without being too exposed. And the tension is pulling you in opposite directions. One hand, you have them, you want them to notice you, okay? And really notice you. Now, on the other, you're terrified that being noticed means being judged or rejected. So your brain short circuits and your body responds with slapstick level chaos. Look, that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means the intensity of what you feel is bigger than the confidence you have to express it. And let me say this too. I have been laughing through this whole letter saying that it's funny. This isn't funny in the comical way. It's funny the way that you've written it. Okay. I mean, I love the way you express your feelings in this letter. Okay, so here's the most important thing to know. You cannot ruin something that is meant to be with the spilled coffee or an awkward laugh or even, your head in the wall, literally. But if someone is genuinely interested in you, they'll find your awkwardness completely endearing. They'll see right through the panic and recognize the intention behind it. People who like you, they don't get scared off by clumsy flirting they get charmed by it, really. They think, look, they're trying so hard. And they're not thinking, what a disaster, okay? In fact, most people, most real connections, they start like imperfected, uncoordinated, and full of nervous energy. The smoothest beginnings often belong to relationships that burn out fast because ease doesn't equal depth. But this nervous, messy, ridiculous chaos that usually means your heart is involved, and that matters so much more than whether you can execute flawless delivery of iced coffee. Let's talk a little bit of strategy, okay? Because panic isn't a plan. You need to stop trying to impress them with perfectly timed hints. That's not your lane, obviously. And honestly, that's not where connection is built. You're trying to communicate through gestures when what you need is presence. Slow down, breathe. Let interactions be natural instead of staged. Instead of trying to create a moment, allow the moment to develop. Breathe, please. Just ask them a simple question. Give a compliment. Find something genuine to share. You don't need a grand gesture. You need a real one. And for the love of everything, stop staring at them. Okay? You're not trying to decode ancient hieroglyphics in the back of their head. That's not intuition. That's anxiety with binoculars. Okay? Binoculars. Oh my gosh. Okay, here's the bottom line. If this person is right for you, all your awkward attempts won't push them away. They'll pull them closer because sincerity always shines brighter than perfection. Okay? And if they're not right for you, then at least you'll know without wasting months torturing yourself. I mean, I'd call that a romantic limbo. Either way, you deserve clarity, not confusion, connection, not chaos, and a relationship where you don't have to audition through spilled drinks and nervous smiles. So take the pressure off yourself. Stop trying to perform and let the real you show up. The real you, anxious, hopeful, adorable, disaster, and all, is exactly who someone out there is searching for. Okay? All right. Now then, I do believe it's that time again. We're going to shift over from a little humor into some chaos. Oh, what time is it? My computer's not working right. Okay, 12:36. My goodness, we're doing good. Okay. So as we shift out of the humor into the chaos of the last letter into something a little deeper, I want to take a moment and reset the emotion of the room. Laughter is powerful and it's necessary, especially on days when our hearts feel too heavy to carry on their own. But sometimes right behind that laughter is a truth that we haven't really been ready to face, and the truth that keeps tugging at the back of our mind no matter how much we try to ignore it. That's where the next letter takes us. Pardon me. Because, beneath the jokes, the spilled coffee, the awkward conversations, nervous giggles, there's a layer of emotions that's far more complicated. And the fear of wanting something that might not want you back, that quiet whisper inside the wonders whether the connection you feel is real or just something you've protected or even projected, onto someone who can't or won't meet you halfway. Now, it's a vulnerable, there goes that word again. It's a vulnerable space to stand in. And that's why this pivot from funny to serious matters. We need to honor both sides of the human heart. And the truth is, hope can be intoxicating. It can make even the smallest gesture feel meaningful. Even the shortest conversation feel like, a sign. Or the most ordinary moment feel like destiny tapping you on the shoulder. But hope can also make you blind to reality, especially when we've gone way too long without feeling truly wanted or chosen. When someone finally gets us even a spark of attention, we've gone too long without feeling truly wanted or chosen. Pardon me. Not. Let's see here. If he has noticed her doing those things and he does not run when he sees her, he might be trying to figure her out. He could be interested but confused. There you go. You know what? I'm gonna put that one up. Y'all read that again. If he has notice of her doing those things and he does not run when he sees her, he might be trying to figure her out. Amen. He could be interested but confused. Exactly. See, right back to my point there too. You got to give him a minute. Absolutely give him a minute. It's not that he's not thinking about it. It's just he's thinking about it. Give him a minute. So, Today's serious letter, it kind of leans into the struggle between desire and doubt, between what we wish was true and what actually is. It's the part of the conversation that so many people keep buried because admitting confusion feels like admitting weakness, and the truth is it takes far more strength to say I don't know what I'm feeling than it does to pretend everything is fine. This letter, it was written from the exact space, the space where clarity dissolves into uncertainty and the heart starts questioning itself. And gosh, thank you, Rudy. 12:39 p.m. Central. I am Central too, sir. Thank you very much. So before I open this, I want to take a breath and remind you and everyone that confusion is not failure. Okay. Questioning your own feelings does not make you naive, and wondering whether something is love or longing, it doesn't make you foolish. It makes you honest. It makes you self-aware, and it makes you someone who cares deeply enough to want to get it right. Yeah. And that's why this next letter really matters, because it's not just a confession, it's a reflection of what so many people silently every single day go through. It's the ache of wanting clarity, the fear of misreading signals, and the exhaustion of feeling like your heart is 2 steps ahead of your reality. And the courage it took to write these words deserves to be met with the same courage in the response. So I hope I can give that to you. Let's get that first serious letter and honor the truth inside it, and not with judgment, but with understanding. Now, all right, let's see here. Dear B, I'm writing this because I finally hit the point where pretending I'm fine is exhausting. And I don't know how else to do, or I'm sorry, I don't know what else to do except tell the truth. There's someone in my life who has started to mean far more to me than I ever intended. Pardon me. And now I can't tell if the connection between us is real or something I've built in my head out of loneliness and wishful thinking. Every conversation with them feels charged in a way I can't explain. Sometimes it's the way they look at me a second longer than necessary. Other times it's the softness in their voice when they say my name. They don't flirt with me outright, but there's a warmth. Pardon me. There's a warmth there that makes my heart respond before my logic can catch up. And that's the part that scares me. I don't want to project feelings onto someone who's just being kind. I don't want to create a fantasy because I'm craving attention or connection, but I also can't deny that something in me lights up when they're near, and I don't know how to separate that's what's real from what I'm hoping for. The worst part is the uncertainty. Some days I leave our conversations convinced there's something mutual happening, like they're trying to communicate something without saying it out loud. And other days I replay every interaction and feel stupid for even thinking they might care that way. It feels like I'm constantly taking emotional temperature readings, trying to interpret every comment, every single smile, every text, pause. I'm tired of living in this in between place where my mind keeps telling me to be cautious while my heart keeps sprinting ahead. I want clarity, but I'm too afraid to ask directly because the answer might break me. And I know that sounds dramatic, but when you haven't felt something genuine in a long time, even the possibility of love feels fragile. Yes, it does. Like one wrong move could shatter the whole thing. So here I am, stuck between wanting to protect myself and wanting to take the risk. I don't know if this is love starting to grow. Thank you, Rudy. Or if I'm just desperate for something meaningful after years of feeling overlooked. All I know is that it feels real to me, and the idea of being wrong makes me feel foolish in a way I can't even explain. I don't want to chase an illusion. I don't want to read too much into crumbs, but I also don't want to walk away if there's something here worth holding on to. B, I need help understanding what I'm actually feeling. How do I tell the difference between genuine connection and a heart that's just hoping too hard? Signed, caught between my heart and my head. Oh, that's a hard place to be, my friend. That's a hard place. Pardon me. Okay, so this one's going to take me a second. What you're feeling is not, I mean, it's one of the most human experiences in the world. And the fact that you are able to articulate it this clearly tells me something important right off the bat. Your heart is awake, okay? Your intuition, it's active. And you haven't lost your ability to connect, even after everything life has thrown at you. People often think confusion is a sign of weakness, but the truth is, confusion is a sign of awareness. It means you're paying attention. And it really means that you're not blindly leaping into something just because it feels good in the moment. You fixed your own problem before it even started. It means you're paying attention. It means you've lived enough life to know that not every warm glance is a promise, and not every spark is a signal. And that awareness is exactly why this feels so heavy, because your heart and your mind are both trying to protect you, and they're pulling in different directions. One part of you feels like the chemistry, the possibilities, and the potential, it feels it. But the other part remembers past disappointments, and it's terrified of building another emotional house on unstable grounds. The situation you're describing, the long looks, the soft tone, and the subtle energy that shifts. Okay, these are all moments that can make anyone question their own judgment. They're delicate and ambiguous, powerful all at once. Some people are warm by nature. Some people are emotionally expressive, even when they don't mean anything romantic. Some people project tenderness without realizing that the impact it really has on them is profound. And some people really do feel something, but they're afraid of, stepping forward because they don't want to disrupt the dynamic either. Or they're unsure whether you feel the same and carrying their own wound, it's and hesitations. Gosh, that's why these moments like riddles, they feel like riddles. They really do. Aqua says, I feel like the guy she is talking about is in a relationship, but she is not saying it. The way she talks sounds how a guy sends signals, but can't just come out and say it because he can't. Well, there you go. There, that is a definite perspective here, because that could be the case. You're right, Aqua. That's absolutely true. Maybe he is in a relationship. Maybe you should stop and take the time and ask him that first. And if he's not, well, make sure that's true. You're not just trying to figure them out. They're trying to figure you out too. You got to keep that in mind. And you're trying to figure out whether your perception is shaped by genuine connection or hunger for something meaningful. Maybe he's just not the one, maybe Aqua is right. And he's definitely not the one, but it's just his character, right? So the most important thing you can do right now is take the pressure off yourself to figure this one out immediately. Love, or even early whisper of it, does not need to be solved like a math equation. What you need is grounding and perspective and a willingness to be honest with yourself about what you see versus what you wish you saw. One powerful truth that people forget is this, love leaves fingerprints. Hope, it leaves shadows. Love shows up in actions, consistency, follow through, clarity, and choice. But hope shows up in guesses, okay? Interpretations, assumptions. We know what I say about that. And emotional fill in the blanks. If someone is truly interested, it becomes visible in ways that don't make you question. And question yourself, especially this hard. They'll, initiate conversation. They'll create moments instead of merely appearing in them. And they'll make their presence felt with you with intention, okay? Interest has a certain boldness to it, even when subtle. But when your connection relies entirely on you reading between the lines, it usually means the lines aren't solid yet. That's when you give time. What else can you do? And you've got it. And if you don't, that's your own perspective. And maybe you should have more patience and take more time. It doesn't mean you're imagining it either. It means you're trying to decode something that may still be in its early undefined form, right? And that's okay. You're not supposed to know all the answers right away. Thank you, Rudy. And you're supposed to observe, okay? You're supposed to let the situation breathe. And, you're supposed to stay honest with yourself about what is actually happening in front of you. Here's something else that's important, okay? You're allowed to want the clarity. Absolutely. You're allowed to protect your peace. You're allowed to decide that your emotional well-being matters more than deciphering someone's cryptic behavior. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step back and ask yourself, if someone else described this situation to me, would I call it neutral or would I call it mixed signals? Because distance often gives you the truth that closeness hides. And here's the hard truth wrapped in compassion, okay? If this person is truly meant to be something more in your life, you will not have to twist yourself in knots to figure that out. You're not going to have to decode every single gesture like it's ancient script. You will not have to wonder. Okay, you're enough. You are. And you're not going to have to wonder whether you're imagining everything. People who want to show up in ways that make you feel wanted, people who care for you, she need to be more assertive with what's what. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. My point exactly. Thank you. See, this is my point right here. And this is how men and women can get along too, okay? Because Aqua and I, we have differences. Everybody has differences. But what you just said right there, is exactly it. Okay? She needs to be more assertive with what's what. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you, Aqua. Thank you. You deserve a connection that gives you peace instead of confusion, people, clarity instead of chaos. You need to be reciprocated instead of guessing. You deserve something that doesn't make you question your own worth every time you replay a conversation in your head. If this grows into love, okay, it will be because both of you step towards each other with truth. Not because you spent months studying tiny signals like emotional Morse code. And if it turns out to be hope rather than love, that doesn't make you foolish. It just makes you brave if you do it. Okay, you got to get there. It means your heart is still alive, still capable of feeling deeply, and still willing to reach for something meaningful, even after loss or disappointment or emotional drought. Don't shame yourself for that, please. Most people spend their entire lives numb. Don't be numb. Okay, awaken. I'm not talking about woke. I'm talking about awaken. And awaken always feels, it feels messy at first. Whatever the outcome, you will not lose yourself in this unless you silence your own needs. And if you're ignoring your intuition, that can be good too. Just don't ignore it completely. Don't cling to someone who never reaches back. Don't be a choice. What do I say? Don't give discounts. Don't give discounts. Trust yourself enough to look for what's real. Show up for yourself. Let go of what's imagined. And remember, you are worthy of love. That doesn't make you doubt your own mind. And one way or another, your clarity is coming. Okay? Your clarity is coming. I promise. Thank you, Aqua. I needed you here today. Something told you that I needed somebody to bounce off of today. And I appreciate you being here for this. Man, people show up at the best dang times, y'all. Okay, so I am going to get to the trivia now. Yay! No hints. But I want to take a moment to appreciate this little segment actually does for the flow of the show, because it's easy to think of trivia as a quick detour, lighthearted pause after. Well, let me say this. That one kind of upset me a little bit because, honey, first off, you need to get with your own truth. Okay? You cannot expect anybody to love, respect, trust, any of that, those really big words, you can't expect that if you can't find your own truth about you first. If you have to question every little interaction, he's not the one. He's not the one, period. Come on, honey. This is going to sound... I may get a bad letter after this one. The Monkees or the Beach Boys? There you go. No. Love you, man, but no. All right. I'm going to get out of that because I'm just going to start griping at this lady before I can even get to the darn trivia answer here. All right. So we're going to learn something new, something small. Give our mind something to hold on to when our heart is still untangling itself. And right now, let me tell you, it's my mind. It's not my heart, because that last letter, it got to me. But okay, so my ADHD brain. All right. So all of this is why today's trivia question fits so neatly into the theme of emotional uncertainty, because the band at the center of the question. Okay. Let's put this one back up here again. Back to the stage. Yard birds. Wow. Okay. It's strange to imagine, isn't it? One tiny detail in the early stages of someone's path can completely shift the way the world perceives them. One decision, one pivot, the moment of clarity can change everything. And it mirrors so much of what we've been discussing today. So, I'm going to bring this full circle. I want to let today's answer be more than just a name, though. Let it be a reminder that uncertainty does not mean failure. And awkward beginnings don't erase legendary innings. Let it remind you that sometimes the truth becomes obvious only in hindsight. 9-inch nails. No, but they are good, aren't they? Okay, with that in mind, let's go ahead and reveal the piece of music history that ties our whole conversation together. The answer to a question that shows even the greatest stories start in the dark. Are you ready? You're going to love this one. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. All right. There you go. Yep. Crazy, huh? The band that was almost introduced to the world under the name the New Yardbirds before stepping into the identity that would eventually shake rock history to its core is Led Zeppelin. And what makes this so fascinating isn't just the name change itself, but what it represents about transformation, timing, and the unpredictable nature of destiny. See, Led Zeppelin was never meant to blend in. Never. Never meant to be an echo of something old, never meant to, walk in the footsteps of another band's legacy. They were born to redefine an era, though, and to bend sound in ways that nobody has heard before, to take rock music and stretch it so far beyond its boundaries that the world had no choice but to pay attention. But before any of that happened, before stadiums, before the myth making, before the impact that would actually ripple for generations, they were standing behind a name that didn't fit the magnitude of what they were about to become. Yeah, it's almost poetic when you think about it. The early version of the band had ties to the Yardbirds. And when Jimmy Page needed a name to keep tour obligations intact, right? I know, right? Especially in Texas. That's what we had for dinner, Yardbirds. So the new Yardbirds became a temporary identity and a placeholder for a label that served a purpose but didn't reflect their actual potential. And that mirrors so much of what we talked about today, too. How easy it is in the early stages of anything: love, hope, connection, creativity, even self-discovery, to use a name, an idea, a feeling, a guess, a story that isn't truly yours. That temporary label might help you survive the moment, but it doesn't define who you actually are. And once the pieces started to fall into place, once John Paul Jones, John Bonham, and Robert Plant locked into that chemistry with Page, everything changed. Everything. The spark was too big for the box that they were trying to fit. They needed a name that didn't just identify them. It's, oh gosh, announces them. A name with weight and force. And that name carried the promise of what they were destined to unleash. When Keith Moon jokingly, remarked that the idea of the band would go down like a lead balloon, that offhand comment kind of came the nudge that they needed to reinvent themselves entirely, like a lead balloon. And so it's a reminder that, sometimes the things you're meant to become is nothing like the thing you start as. Sometimes you're living under a name or a role or a story or some kind of hope that doesn't match your actual potential yet. Okay. Sometimes your beginnings are humble and awkward or misaligned, and yet just beneath the surface, something enormous is forming. Content creators, same thing. Okay. So today's answer is more than just a trivia fact. It's a message. You may start as the new Yardbirds in your own life. You may walk through seasons where you feel like a placeholder version of yourself, guessing and hoping and transitioning, unsure of your footing. But when the right moment comes, when the right pieces align and the clarity shows up, you'll step into a version of yourself that fits you so perfectly that everything before it will feel like rehearsal, Led Zeppelin didn't just change their name. Okay. They claimed their destiny, and one decision changed the entire world of music forever. I mean, who doesn't like Led Zeppelin? And let me put this shameless plug after I get me a drink. You guys, I have all kinds of shorts with music facts. Go check them out. Okay. So I'm going to bring this down. Goodness, that's crazy. That's really crazy. So, all right, we're going to step out of all these conversations now and kind of ease into the final moments. I got to do my outros. I want to take a beat and reflect to what we just did together. First, we started with a question, a deceptively simple question about identity, names in the moment. A band steps into who they truly are, and that alone opened up a door into something much bigger, because it never just it's not just trivia, it's reality. And it's never just a fact for the sake of information. It's always something meaningful behind it. The story and the transformations, the almost, the could have beens, and the defining choice that shapes everything afterward. We talk about Led Zeppelin today, but in truth, we are talking about every person listening, about anyone who has ever felt like they were operating under a name or a role or an expectation that didn't quite fit, and about the courage that it takes to step into your real identity when the moment finally calls your name. So before we close out, I want you to hold on to something important. Everything we talk about here is designed to tell you how to live, isn't designed to tell you how to live. Pardon me. It's not telling you what choices you need to make or what path to walk. It's meant to spark something, or a thought, a shift, a tiny spark of recognition that maybe, just maybe, you're not stuck where you think you are. Every letter, every story, every moment of humor, every heavy confession, every thank you, every piece of trivia, all of it builds a sort of rhythm that mirrors real life. We can swing from love to chaos, from pain to humor, from music to memories, and it all somehow fits together, because humans aren't one-note creatures. We're complicated and layered and messy and brilliant. At the same time, we don't recognize that in ourselves. Today's show it wasn't just entertaining, I hope. It was a reminder that you are allowed to grow and outgrow those labels. And you're allowed to rewrite the narrative, allowed to choose a version of yourself that feels truer than anything you started with. And as I shift, I want you to sit for just a second with today's theme. Not the trivia answer, okay? Not the question, but the undertone of the whole conversation. You are not done becoming, not even close. There's still a version of you waiting to be uncovered, okay? Waiting to be named and to be stepped into. Just like those early musicians standing backstage under a temporary title, you might be in your new birds era right now, figuring it out, holding it together, hitting the notes, but not yet in the identity that matches your full power. I'll give you another example. Memoirs of a Redneck Barbie is the name that I started with on YouTube. And here I am, Boss BBTV, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it, plain and simple. So I'm going to bring the energy down for the last time for this show, because I want you to feel what I'm about to say, and without rushing through it in the way the world constantly tries to rush us. This show isn't background noise. It isn't filler content, and it isn't just another hour on the internet. It's a place where people show up because something inside them is tired of being quiet and tired of being overlooked. Okay. Tired of carrying the weight alone. I mean, that's why I started here. And if you're listening right now, you helped hold it open so people could breathe for a moment. That matters more than you realize. Aqua, thank you. You know, one thing we see over and over again is that people go years without ever being asked how they're truly doing. They'll carry decades of stress and trauma and hope, confusion, emotion, all that stuff. But they never really check into their dreams. And yet here every day, people bring their stories, the funny ones, the frustrating ones, the heartbreaking ones, the confusing ones, the I don't know how else to tell this ones, okay? And they trust that someone on the other side or on the other end is going to listen without judgment. That someone is going to actually hear them and that someone is going to hold space with them instead of brushing them off. And I don't take that lightly, not for one damn second. If nobody in your real life tells you this today, then let me be the one who does. What you feel matters. What you carry matters. And what you have survived matters. Okay? The fact that you show up here, even on the days when you don't feel like you're enough, or even when you feel invisible, or when life has been punching you in the ribs for so long that you never admit it, it means you're fighting in ways most people will never understand. You might not get applause for your strength in your everyday life, okay? But that doesn't make it any less real. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who sit in the quietest rooms with the loudest minds. Every episode, every letter, every single story reminds me of how many of us are just trying to hold our worlds together with duct tape and determination. Some people are rebuilding their confidence. Pardon me. Some are trying to heal wounds they never talk about. Some are learning to feel like they're worthy again, and some are trying to find a direction. And anyway, each of you brings something different to this space, even if you never type a word, because presence alone has power. Say it again. Say it with me. Presence alone has power. Just showing up changes the energy of the room. Just listening brings connection into something that can otherwise feel like a lonely world. So if today gave you anything, a moment of clarity, a moment of comfort or humor or distraction, a moment where you felt a little bit less alone, then this was your worth. Okay? This was your worth it moment. Because we don't do this for numbers. We don't do this for the algorithm. We don't do this for ego. We do this because someone out there always needs that one sentence, that one perspective, that one reminder, that one story to land at exactly the right time. And if today is that day for you, I'm grateful you're here to receive it. All right, to wrap it up, remember this. You are not required to have everything figured out by tonight. You're not expected to carry every burden without help. You do not have to shrink yourself to be liked, or stay silent to be tolerated, or exhausted. Don't exhaust yourself to appear strong, okay? You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to choose yourself first and foremost. You're allowed to grow at your own pace and redefine your story every single day. Bye-bye, Aqua. Thank you for being here, honey. If nobody told you today they're proud of you, I am. This has been AskABee. Thank you for being here. Thank you for trusting this space. And thank you for showing up, even when life made it hard. I will see you Monday, where I have a special guest. Yes, I have a special guest. Walt Talks is going to come up here with me because I have a letter from a fireman in my area, and I think he would be the best one to answer it. So please, y'all show up on Friday or on Monday. Pardon me. Y'all show up on Monday because I won't be here tomorrow. So please, y'all have a great day. Don't forget me on Monday, and definitely be here for Walt. Definitely be here for all the Iron Sharpening Iron universe as we start new spinoffs and keep moving. And y'all tell me something. What would you think about another spinoff from me on just music history? I'm thinking about it. Y'all leave in the comments. Let me know what you think about that. I really think it'd be a good idea. I love my history. All right, y'all. Y'all have a good one. This has been AskABee, loving you from afar, turning pollen into honey. See y'all later.